hello everybody. I'm Valerija Butorac from Faculty of Science, University of Zagreb from Croatia. I did this work with my colleagues Ruđer, Novak and Nenad Buzjak. Actually, it was a kind of an emergency response to what is happening actually with part of geoheritage, which is comprised of caves in Croatia. So I would like to start with my first slide. Half of Croatian territory is composed of karst. Actually, it is part of Dinaric karst belt. Also, in this karstic part of Croatia, the geodiversity values are highest, and also geoheritage is most numerous, the one which is actually protected. In karstic part of Croatia, the approximated number of caves is 10,000. But in Croatian cave cadastre, there are 3,400 registered caves. That means that they have coordinates, topographic design, and some additional data like geology, geomorphology, hydrology, or other things which are important for the caves. Also, in the same time, we have 800 caves which are registered as polluted caves in polluted cave register. This register is completely voluntary based, and it is done inside the speleological community in Croatia. So what is actually happening? We have continuous population in Croatia, Croatian karst from prehistory, and people always used caves and other features from karst. There are a lot of evidences that caves were used as burial sites, as shelters, storages, and also as landfills. But now the problem is completely different, because pre-industrial waste was not the same as industrial and post-industrial waste. So we have bigger problem in caves which are specific environments where everything is happening slowly, and also the waste is long-lasting problem. It will not just disappear. The problem is that not only that we have 800 caves registered as polluted caves, there are also some of them are actually protected as geoheritage, or as some other or protected in some other ways. So when we saw the data, and we are also ones who are collecting the data and who are seeing the problem, we decided just to make a kind of a quick analysis to see what is actually happening, where is it happening, why is it happening in some areas, why the density is higher, and what can we do to prevent the pollution. So from one side, we have a problem which is very well hidden in karst underground, and from the other side, we have high levels of legal protection on surface. Every cave in Croatia is protected by state and is considered state property from the moment it was discovered. Some caves, I'm talking about every cave in Croatia, every one that is registered in national cadastre. But some of them are actually protected in some other way. Most of them are protected as nature monument, and nature monument is considered geoheritage in Croatia. It can be, they can also be part of some other protected areas as national parks, nature reserves, significant landscapes, Natura 2000 areas, or geoparks. So some basic statistics about protected areas is we have 461 protected areas in total. Most of them, more than half, are in karstic part of Croatia. 54 protected as geoheritage. But the problem is that most of them are protected as geoheritage in cities. So I don't have to spend my time to talk about how wrong is that, because most intensive cave exploration is happening after 60s and actually now. So everything that was proclaimed geoheritage actually was almost every new cave that was big or had a lot of stalagmites. So criteria for geoheritage evaluation is really not clear. We can now see that criteria was aesthetic value or actually rareness in that time. But now, when we are aware that we have around 10,000 caves, we cannot protect any and then stop in one moment. And moment when we stopped was 60s. So this is this is also one of the problems. So the most numerous phenomena protected as geoheritage in Croatia are caves, and most of the protected caves are, of course, in karstic part of Croatia. So this is a map with overview of cave cadastre, and red dots are polluted caves. So we can see that the problem is diffused. It's actually everywhere in karstic part of Croatia. On the right side, there is one residual part of karst, which is actually not there are no that much settlements, so this is why it is not polluted yet. Okay, so what we did spatial distribution analysis, prioritization of most endangered areas, analysis of the causes of the pollution. So how we did prioritization analysis, it consisted 7 elements, protected area polygons, like really areas, protected area points, because most the caves who are protected, they are protected as points, not like the whole catchment. Natura 2000, rare and endangered habitat, proximity to a source of drinking water, proximity to watercourses, and national strategic groundwater reserves. So we weighted with points all of the elements, and then we overlaid and made raster with sum of all the elements, so we can see so that we can see which of the caves is in which kind of state. The third thing we did is analysis of the causes of pollution. Because humans are doing it, then we wanted to see which anthropogenic features of certain area are connected more to the pollution. So we took distance from roads and paths and distance from populated and built up areas. We overlaid that information with polluted caves kernel density value. So first result is map with kernel density of polluted caves. We can see that we have some core areas in Croatia. It is on the western part, Istria, and in coastal part of Croatia, Dalmatia. Okay, so we can see that core areas are actually connected with density of data. Also, I have to say that, because the intensity and number of cave exploration is not the same in every part of Croatia. Some parts are not even reachable because they have a lot of explosive stuff from the war. Okay, so the second result is prioritization. So density is kind of a screening, but what we wanted to know is which objects are within highest legal protection status and as such priority for rehabilitation. This map is result of 7 elements listed before in overlaid weighted addition that we summed up in rasters. So here is one conflict area. It is Dalmatia, also one of the most touristic part of Croatia. The best example from Dalmatian conflict area is National Park Krka. Even though all the geological, geomorphological, hydrological, and biological phenomena is protected in National Park, we can see that only surface features are actually being protected in practice, while underground looks as it's shown in the picture above. We can conclude that without care for underground, which is functionally connected to fluvio-karstic river, which is actually a primary phenomenon of the national park, the protection all over the national park is actually being questionable. Okay, so the next core area or conflict area is Istria, also in touristic part of Croatia. So every protected area is actually really hardly exploited in tourism. This is also something which is really important to note. So in Istria conflict area, best example of endangered geoheritage is Pazin Cave. It is a sinking point of Pazinčica River, and of local, also it is a sinking point of local sewage and technological wastewater from nearby industrial plants. The same water springs at a dozen springs in southern Istria, and it is also used as a water supply for this part of Istria. Despite protection as a Natura 2000 site and protection as significant landscape, it is still seasonally polluted. I also have one more example. This is from inside of Pazin cave when the pollution is happening. So I also have one more example from Istria, but unfortunately it is not photo documented, but it's actually protected as geoheritage, so it is proclaimed as a geomorphological nature monument. It's Markova pit, but it is also on the list of 800 polluted caves in Croatia. More from the results. So we wanted to see what causes the pollution. So we concluded that actually distance from roads or paths is the most important thing for somebody to decide, okay, I will leave my trash into the cave or into the pit. So it is more important than distance from built-up areas. Also, here is some basic statistics that we collected from these 7 elements that were part of prioritization. So 30% of all of the polluted caves are inside Natura 2000 areas. 30% of them are inside, or they are proclaimed as rare and endangered habitat areas. 70% inside protected areas as national parks, nature parks, significant landscape, and similar. 40% in buffer zone 1 kilometer from watercourse, and 27% inside national strategic groundwater reserves. So here are some concluding remarks. Despite legal protection is actually not existing in practice. Evidence for that fact is number of polluted caves and their locations, which are inside of some protected areas. I would not like to read what I have written, and I have something more to say, which is not on slide. So even though this kind of assessment should comprise data about types of waste and amount of waste, those variables are changeable. That's why we haven't considered that kind of variables in our prioritization. Scenario which we would like to see is complete inventarization of geoheritage and geodiversity with clear criteria, because in that way we could do our prioritization of caves for rehabilitation correctly or more accurate. And this work is the first step in quantification of inefficiency of current state of geoheritage protection and cave as part of this geoheritage. Thank you for your attention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Valerija, for your excellent talk.
Thank you for listening.
So we have one question from Geoartigos, but I would like to ask you to rewrite it, because I cannot understand what it does mean. So I will move directly to the question of Professor Paulo Pereira.
Okay.
What kind of rehabilitation do you mean? Excluding visitors, in-source pollution controls?
Rehabilitation in this moment would be getting waste out of the caves and making that cave again completely natural as much as it can be, because we are doing that, but it is not possible in one human life to collect all the waste which is filled in those big volumes like caves and pits. So rehabilitation would also consider education of local people, because they're actually not aware that they're polluting their drinking water and their environments, because most of the caves are behind their houses or in 1 kilometer of the road or path.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Vincenzo. I have a curiosity. The criteria that assess the definition of polluted, is it based on visible pollution, or does it derive from analyzing waters?
Yeah, actually, because in water analysis there is a lot of politics, because water is state's property. So, and on the other side, this whole initiative is completely voluntary, and speleologists, cavers are doing the job when they are on the fieldwork. So if you see that something is polluted, then you then somebody says that underground initiative. So we have some kind of grades of pollution, like 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the highest when it's completely filled up with I don't know what kind of waste, because sometimes you can have few dead animals in cave. Okay, it is a pollution because it can be a problem for drinking water, but it is not that severe. But actually, just in some cases, like Pazin Cave, we did analyzed water. But you know, you have to have a lot of money to do that in 800 caves.
Okay, one other question from Professor Emmanuel Renard. Very good presentation. And the sad situation is policy for drinking water protection to protect these caves?
Oh, actually no. As one of criteria was strategic groundwater reserves. So I think it is still just strategic because nobody incorporated that in any law, and nobody is obliged actually to do anything connected with groundwater. And as you can see, most of the protection of actually catchment areas and drinking water springs are connected with surface catchments, which is not a good story in karst, because everything is happening underground and catchment is not the same underground and on the surface.
Lucy Flower are greeting you for your talk and asking, how do you project to engage the public with this issue?
Oh, we are actually doing it because the initiative Clean Underground is consisted of speleologists, and some of us are also researchers. So we think that the main thing is engaging public, I mean local people. So when we are actually cleaning some caves, we are inviting local people, and we are not talking bad things to them. We are trying to explain them things they didn't know, and it actually is really good because they are really feeling sorry and they are surprised when they hear that they're polluting their water. And we have some kind of presentations in schools, kindergartens, faculties, wherever we can.
Okay. One final question is from Jose Luis. What do the local governments, they have the competencies with regard to garbage collection?
Oh, this is a complete another story. I could talk about it for 1 hour. So everybody is throwing a ball to somebody else. You know, we are trying to talk with local people who are or institutions who are engaged with waste collection, but nobody actually. As every cave is protected by nature protection law, the state should intervene in every of these 800 registered polluted caves. But everything is on us on this voluntary initiative.
Okay, so I would like to thank you again, Valerija, for involvement and your participation.